Hello, BookTube. It's a little strange that considering how much I like Top 5 Wednesdays, I do so seldom participate in them. I love watching them. And I thought I would do one today before the apocalypse, which you might think, liturgically speaking, was a long way off, but it's right outside my doorway, literally. Since 7 in the morning, there have been backhoes, dump trucks, uh, vans, uh, earth movers, police cars, uh, gas company vans, electrical vans, construction crews, uh, and just recently, as sort of icing on the cake, two helicopters hovering 200 feet above the ground. So it's a Michael Bay movie outside my front door. I expect that I am going to be told to evacuate at any time, and yet not one of the 1,485 state, federal, and local employees gathered in a crowd directly outside my front door can tell me what's going on. They, it's, it, the one person I talked to at 7 this morning said, "Yeah, it's just a gas problem. That's all," which needs helicopters. So I expect this will be the last video that I will ever make. No cheering for Memento Mori. And I thought, what better way to go out than with a top 5 Wednesday? Today's is particularly good. In addition to everything else, in addition to the apocalypse outside my front door, I also don't have the internet. So I have no idea when I will upload this video, if I will. And I also don't have the ability to check and see what the exact name of the theme was for today. Because why should anything go right? But I know the general gist of it. The general gist of it is your top 5 unlikable protagonists. I watched Sam at Thoughts on Tomes. I watched a bunch of other channels, and I loved them all. And I have 5 candidates of my own so for the theme, starting with the main character of one of my favorite books, Rudyard Kipling's The Jungle Books. The main character is Mowgli, a little boy who's washed out of his village in a rainstorm and ends up being raised by a pack of wolves. Uh, and he grows to adulthood. He grows to his teenage years uh, as a member of the forest, as a member of the jungle, taught the laws of the jungle by Baloo the bear, befriended by a Black Panther, and hated by a ravenous tiger. And the stories are wonderful. They're fantastic. I reread them all the time, even though I know them by heart. But you, in the arc of them, in the first Jungle Book and then the second Jungle Book, you're clearly supposed to kind of like Mowgli, and there's nothing to like about it. Unfortunately, I hate saying that. It feels like heresy, but he would be my first candidate. The second candidate would be, if we draw from classical literature, the obvious case is Raskolnikov from Crime and Punishment. I just reread Crime and Punishment in a new translation, a very snappy, very good new translation that I don't think I showed on camera. Oh, oh my! Now I'm glad I'm not uploading this. And the new translation, I have it over there. I don't remember the translator's name off the top of my head. I loved it. It's chaotic in a way that no other English translation has ever done, and it's notable in one particular way, which is that it's the very first time that a publisher has sent me an advance copy of a book and asked for a blurb. The publicist did not ask for me to send her a link to a review of mine if it goes up. Instead, she sent me a self-addressed stamped envelope and said, "We'd love to get your advanced thoughts for possible inclusion on the dust jacket of the hardcover," which has never happened to me before. It was sent to me through the auspices of Open Letters, but I can't help but think that that kind of notice is the result of the Christian Science Monitor and not Open Letters. I have no idea. I've certainly reviewed a bucket load of Russian translations for Open Letters Monthly. Maybe this publisher's just noticed that. But I just reread, I sent them off a blurb. It will be the thrill of a lifetime if that thing shows up in hardcover in bookstores this fall with a blurb from me on the dust jacket of the hardcover. That would be the thrill of a lifetime. But it reminded me. I was rereading the book. I every time I reread it, I'm more and more convinced of its genius, which I did not feel the first time I read an English translation. I thought it was a lot of Sturm and Drang for nothing, and now, the more I read it, the more I see its genius. And boy, we get every excuse in the world for Raskolnikov. He's hungry. He's sick. Literally, he's got the flu. He's confused, even mentally damaged. But now he's just a jerk. So there's just nothing to like about him at all. So he's candidate number 2. And then my final 3 candidates have one thing in mind in uh, in fiction. I have found that very often the purest recipe for a character to become an utterly unlikable protagonist is if they are the chosen one. if there's somebody's chosen one, that bodes very poorly. It's almost impossible for a writer to make you likable if you're fulfilling some ancient prophecy. And so the first of those is the main character in Frank Herbert's great science fiction novel Dune, Paul Atreides, who is the Kwisatz Haderach. He's the longed for one who can be in many places. He's a figure that all the precognitives in Frank Herbert's universe have dimly sensed is coming, and he's a jerk. We meet him as a teenager, and all teenagers are jerks. Believe me, I know whereof I speak. But even as he grows older, he's still an utterly self-absorbed prick. You just can't stand him at all. He's not exactly surrounded by miscongenialities, but he himself still stands out as just someone that you don't like at all. Someone who has virtually no sense of humor, virtually no sense of fellowship. The contrast is actually much stronger in Dune, because Herbert clearly has no affection for Paul Atreides and has tons of affection for Paul's father, Duke Leto Atreides, and also in little glimpses, little tantalizing glimpses here and there for Paul's grandfather, the old Duke. So I can't help but think part of the contrast is intentional. And then another chosen one, so some of you who've been watching this channel for a while are certainly going to see this coming, is Harry Potter. There is one video that I watched about in response to this Top 5 Wednesday cited the Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, when he's going through his angst stage and he's pushing away help, and she found that so irritating that Harry Potter isn't likable in that book. And I wanted to say, but he's like that in all the books. He's never likable. You never understand. I mean, Ron Weasley maybe as a charity case, but you never understand why a mopey, whiny, weak character like Harry Potter would merit even a moment's attention from a magnificent creation like Hermione. You don't understand it at all from the beginning to the end. So, yes, he's the main character of the stories, but oh my god, he is an unlikable protagonist. Imagine being stuck with him for all those books. I don't know how you Potter kids managed to turn out so well. And then, for our Top 5 Wednesday, our last chosen one is Jesus. Again, as we've talked about before on this channel, looking at the scripture only as a literary artifact here. I'm not talking about it as anything else, as a locus of faith at all. I'm talking about it as a literary artifact, and in the 4 Gospels, Jesus is just about sets the gold standard for the priggish chosen one. He's brittle. He's self-referential. He's whiny. He's bullying. He's mean. In the Synoptic Gospels, he's forever taunting his followers with things they don't know and couldn't possibly know. He's forever saying, "Well, don't you know the Father's heart? You're his son and him. We're illiterate Galilean fishermen. No, we don't know his heart, and you maybe do. So what kind of a cheap shot is that?" And it happens over and over again. And it's not just towards his apostles, it's also towards everybody. He makes a woman beg to be healed. He heals people rudely and brusquely. He's mean to the chief priests and elders of the temple when they profess to mean him good when they want to know what his message is, he's mean to them right out of the gate when he could easily not be. it's, it's, he he seems to have an almighty chip on his shoulder from verse number one. so, so he would be my final candidate. That's my top 5 Wednesday for unlikable protagonists. Now I'm gonna go and see what the Michael Bay movie is doing outside, how things have progressed. I will report back, or maybe not. Dun, dun, dun. Thank you, Book 2.